Mark Thiessen is a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former speechwriter for President George W. Bush. Julie Roginski is a former political advisor to New Jersey Democratic Senator Frank Lautenberg and a Fox News contributor. And so this poor mother, whose heart, all of our hearts go out to her, says she told President Obama personally, "You screwed up. You didn't do a good job. I lost my son." And she still says she feels as though she is being stonewalled. Mark, in light of what we heard at these extraordinary hearings yesterday, there may be some other folks out there who feel the same way.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, this administration has been focused on deflecting blame instead of projecting resolve, and that's the problem we face here. Look, the people responsible for this attack, let's be clear, are the terrorists. But what emboldens terrorists to attack us is the perception of American weakness, the perception that they can kill our citizens with impunity. And that perception has only grown in the months since this attack. President Obama has been focused on deflecting blame instead of pinning blame on the terrorists who were responsible for this attack. Instead of projecting resolve and delivering justice to the people who did this, he spent the last month trying to blame this on an internet video or covering it up, and that sends a signal of weakness. And so what somebody needs to explain to this great American, lost American's mother is, why have we not done anything about this in the last month? Why is it that the president has not avenged his death and the death of Ambassador Stevens and these others? I mean, to put that is the big failure here. To put that failure in context, after 9/11, the first 9/11, the Bush administration organized the full scale of invasion of Afghanistan in just over 3 weeks. It's taken Obama 3 weeks to send FBI agents to Benghazi. So we're sending a signal of weakness and paralysis. And as we learned on September 11, 2001 and September 11, 2012, weakness is provocative.
Julie, Pat Smith's grief is real, but I don't want to make this all about her. In the same way, Brian Terry's family grieves for him in the Fast and Furious operation, but that story's not entirely about him. It's about our government and its decisions and its honesty and transparency with the American people. And, having witnessed those hearings yesterday, do you think that there are legitimate questions still out there about whether there was adequate security, whether they responded to the demands being made for more security on the ground at our consulate in Benghazi, and whether this administration has been transparent and open and truthful with us in the days since September 11th, 2012?
Well, first of all, let me say that Mrs. Smith deserves the truth, and Mrs. Smith deserves to have access to all the information that she can be provided with to find out exactly what happened to her son. Megan, you're a mother, I'm a mother. I mean, this is absolutely the worst nightmare that anyone can possibly have. Having said that, you're absolutely right. Despite the fact that she does need answers, we do need to get to the bottom of this, and it does take time. And, I will caution by saying we can't bring these people to justice within a month. It took us 10 years and 2 administrations to bring Osama bin Laden to justice. You can't just snap your fingers and say, let's go get the people that did this. We don't know potentially who they are, where they are. It takes time. And I think any reasonable person would agree that this is not, you can't just go in willy-nilly and start shooting up a place. We need to find out exactly who did this. I am absolutely sure with this president, who has gone after more terrorists over the course of his administration through drone strikes, through the raid on the compound for Osama bin Laden, and over again has demonstrated that he brings to justice the people that go after Americans wherever they may be. And based on that record, I have no doubt whatsoever that this president will bring the people responsible for Mr. Smith's death and the Smith of Ambassador Stevens and everybody else who was involved for their deaths. He will bring them to justice. I have no doubt that he will do that based on the record that he's amassed over the past 4 years.
Mark, it's true that the administration, that the White House eventually got around to calling this a terrorist attack, late in the game, but they did eventually. But Mrs. Smith last night tell CNN, she says, look, I look at the TV and I see bloody handprints on walls thinking, is that my son's? Remember that picture, that terrifying picture from the consulate on the day of the attack? And she says, Susan Rice spoke to me personally, and she said this is the way it was, that it was all because of this film that came out. And now we heard yesterday something very, very different.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, what we found out, in fact, yesterday was that they watched it in real time, that it wasn't 24 hours. Fox had reported it was 24 hours. Within 24 hours, they had determined it was a terrorist attack. The State Department was watching it live and determined it was a terrorist attack in real time. So we spent weeks trying to pretend that this was about an internet video when it was, in fact, a terrorist attack. And what Julie was saying about it took a time to get Osama bin Laden and bring him to justice. I mean, this is the problem. The administration is treating this as a crime instead of an act of war. We are engaged in a war on terror. Terrorists just attacked a U.S. embassy, killed an American ambassador, and they've done it with impunity. There's no sign whatsoever that the administration is planning, much less has executed, a retaliation for this. I mean, to put this in context again, the Libyan people have done more to retaliate for this attack than America. Hundreds of Libyans marched on the compound of the militia, the terrorist militia that was responsible for this, and burned it to the ground. What kind of signal does it send to the world that the a Libyan mob has done more to retaliate than the President of the United States?
Well, I do have to say, Mark, I would not want my president, or if this were George Bush, I would not want any president telegraphing what they're going to do. They just go in and they do it. And this president has gone in time and time again, and he's done it. He has gotten the people who have been responsible for so many terrorist attacks against Americans abroad and against Americans here in our homeland. Let me remind you, he didn't go out there and say, I'm going to go to Pakistan, I'm going to get Osama bin Laden. He just went in and he did it. He does it with drone strikes on a daily basis. And I will furthermore say that if you're worried about embassy security, perhaps you should talk to people like Jason Chaffetz of Utah, a Republican, who conceded that embassy security was not his priority, and therefore he cut funding that the president requested for embassy security, including in Libya. So time and time again, we should really take the politics out of this. You should really try to not... Americans have done
about politics.
Excuse me.
Julie, it's not about politics.
This is not a political issue.
Charlene Lamb, I got to go, but Charlene Lamb, who is the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for the International Programs, testified yesterday that this had nothing to do with funding, that this was not a funding problem over in Benghazi. So they may need more funding, but she did not attribute what happened on 9/11 to a funding issue. In any event, that's yet another thing they're going to argue about on Capitol.